What's up, guys? Brett Okamoto from ESPN, joined by UFC lightweight contender Justin Gaethje, who got the job done against Rafael Fiziev in London a couple weeks ago. So here to talk about it a little bit and then talk about what's next. How was the aftermath of UFC 286? Did you stay in London for a little bit with your family, or did you come right back?
The next day we took the Eurostar. We went to Paris and we stayed there for 4 days. And yeah, it was awesome. Just being around my family. You know what I always like to get home as soon as possible, but we were already across the pond. So I was like, all right, let's do it.
Were you going to do that, win or lose?
Yep. That was already in the plans.
Had you come up short, would you even enjoyed that trip, or would that have been a rough thing to try and turn around?
That's actually something I was thinking about, as I was there. I would have enjoyed it, the love would have been the same, but the energy of everybody else would have been certainly different.
Yeah. Like I said, been a couple weeks since the fight. You spoke about it afterwards, obviously, but having to digest it for 2 weeks. Have you watched it? What are your thoughts on it? Kind of how do you look back on it now?
Yeah, I watched it. I think, when it comes to what the game plan was and my ability to really, buckle down and do what I needed to do, be perfect. I think I fought, an amazing fight. I think, my style of fighting is hard to comprehend when you're watching it. But, I got hit once at the beginning of the third hard, in the head. But outside that, I don't, I maybe took 2 other shots clean to the head. My ability to see the punches that night was amazing. And, to go out there and beat someone that's regarded as, one of the best strikers, in the UFC is something I'm very proud of.
What do you mean your style is hard to comprehend?
Just the way that I fight, looking at the fight, I think I won all 3 rounds. To me it was not super clear, but again, like the shins on my elbows, the sound of shoulders colliding. What he creates those scenarios where it sounds like something is much more effective than it was. I blocked all the knees. They hit my body, but while I was rolling, I think first and second round he touched my body a little bit, but I created damage all throughout those rounds, in certain spots. And so I think that's why I feel that I won those rounds. And then the third round obviously was phenomenal, but he was so fast. So I really had to control the distance. I fought at a slightly farther distance than I've ever fought at. That was the plan going in, and I think it was perfect.
I gotta say, like after the fight, we were talking about it, like analysts work, like me and DC did a just kind of instant reactions on the night. And I was like, I honestly think this is the most impressive win of Justin's career, because the speed was so evident in the first round.
Yeah.
And like you said, you felt you won the first round. I thought, like, from a judge's perspective, like they're gonna reward him the first round, just because, like you said, he's creating those collisions, and I was like, for Justin to have to be perfect, like you said, like perfect for 10 minutes and like beat that guy who's faster, like he has shown the speed advantage.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Like, do you think that's, like, in a weird way, the greatest win of your career?
I think it was probably the best performance I've had. The Tony Ferguson fight is up there with it, but when I fight that way, it's such a foreign. It feels like sparring. It doesn't feel like I'm in like a heated fight, necessarily like it used to. But my ability to perform at that space and in that time is definitely second to none. And I just have to convince myself that that's the way forward.
Yeah.
Trevor said it countless times. But there's such thing as trying too hard, and I always, sometimes I get caught up and I try too hard, try to win too hard, instead of just really allowing myself to be natural. There's not anybody I've ever stepped in there and not put my hands on with hard shots, and so I just need to trust in that. Like, I'm gonna find the shots eventually. And so it's hard to buy into, but it's definitely the way forward, like I said.
I think it was a cool thing for your career too, because it's like once you have this sort of like brawler label, it's hard to get rid of the brawler label, I feel like. And this fight obviously had a lot of action, but I felt like this fight really showcased, like even to people who are maybe not experts at breaking everything down, that like, no, man, for him to win this fight, yes, there was action. Yes, the guy was bloodied up, but there was a high level of skill. This was not a guy who was just like forcing his opponent to get into a brawl and beating him in a brawl. Like this was a skillful fight. Like, have you kind of felt that people are like recognizing that in a way that maybe they haven't?
Man, it's such a weird little game that I've not purposely played, but to make everyone think that you're stupid, or don't have the ability to think or learn, it's kind of it plays well into my hand. People approach me like that, and I'm allowed. It allows me to really get a read on someone and how they are trying to approach me. And anytime you enter a conversation, people think you're stupid. It's and I don't think I'm stupid. I don't think I'm no intellect, but I'm certainly not stupid. And I've never been stupid. I've always chosen to fight the way that I was fighting, and I've always, like I said, it's hard to interpret what's happening if you're not in there. Even from the coach's perspective, it's he knows what I'm doing. He knows that I'm getting under every shot. He knows that I'm seeing shots. But again, anytime anytime the body clashes with the body, it sounds very unique, and it's hard to distinguish what's making that sound in those less than seconds, less than inches moments.
Yeah. It sounded like, on the night of the fight, you said it a bunch of times. So I felt like it was something that was kind of resonating in your own head. That was like, I was just emotionless in there, emotionless. And I know that that's probably something that you wanted to do after, the whole Rose thing happened with the title fight, is to just fight with a level of emotion. Can you just talk about like what you felt in the locker room and then what you felt in the cage? And is that sort of like a breakthrough for you, that you figured out how to fight, which is zero emotion?
Well, yeah, I would like to say that, but again, I'm human, and I get caught up in circumstances and instances sometimes. And I fought like that versus Tony Ferguson, and I thought I had it figured out. And then I go on and when you win, it's hard to go back in and think about that. And then when you lose, it's easier to comprehend the decisions that you need to make. That's a tough struggle when it comes to this sport, because when you're winning, everything's perfect. You're perfect. Everything. And then when you're losing, it's like, okay, I want to learn. I need to learn. I need to be better. Mm-hmm. But I think that mindset is something that I always need to approach these fights with. The pressure that losing puts on you into the next fight is very unique. It makes you work harder. And that's just being human, trying to not let the winning ways, creep in and distinguish the way that you're thinking or feeling or working, because at the end of the day, that's not a factor in that cage.
So what has the feedback then been like? Have you started conversations with the UFC about like, what are you expecting next now?
I haven't started conversations. I mean, they're so busy after these fights, on to the next week, show always goes on. But I think the obvious fight is Poirier. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure when, but yeah, I think that's the obvious fight, with Oliveira fighting Dariush coming up. The winner fighting Makhachev probably, towards the end of the year. I think, I'm either going to fight Poirier or the loser of Oliveira Dariush. Yeah. I think those are the only two fights that are out there for me.
Yeah. I mean, the Poirier one to me is like a no-brainer. Usually it's like, if we're kind of like just speculating, it'd be Islam in October in Abu Dhabi, right? Yeah. So like, you're around that same time frame, you think? Like, does that sound good to you? Like an October fight or somewhere around there?
Yeah, I think if it happens anytime, between, August, September, October, November, December, all those, line up with his next opportunity. But I think ideally, yeah, before October or in October. I don't want to go to Abu Dhabi, but
I was going to ask, yeah. I mean, would you go over there in Abu Dhabi? I mean, they like putting those on the card because I think if someone falls off, but
yeah, I mean, I do not prefer it, but I'm not going to miss an opportunity because I don't want to go to a different time zone.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on fighting Dustin a second time?
Yeah, it's exciting. Again, I'm a much different, more mature fighter as is he. But I think we're two of the best in the world. We neither one of us have a fight lined up. So yeah, like you said, no brainer. It
I feel
leads to big title discussions. I gave the new guard or the new guys a chance. They proved that they can't crack it yet. With the experience and the at the end of the day, it comes down to their ability to fight a smart fight and not get too tired. That's what people, me, Dustin, Charles, Dariush, we have the ability to fight for 3 rounds without getting exhausted. And sometimes, into the 5th round, we're going to be exhausted, but we're still going to be making good decisions. Guys like Chandler, Fiziev, at this point, Chandler never and Fiziev not yet, can't fight that fight yet. And that is what it is.
You think this will be the one that teaches Fiziev how to do that? Like this will be the one that he'll look back and be like, oh, that was the one where I learned how to do that.
Yeah. I mean, the capability's there, but again, it's such a, like you have to say, what did he not do enough work before? And honestly, I think it's controlling your emotions. I think your emotions, when you're emotional, it takes so much more energy out of you and, causes you to throw more than you should, throw in spots that you shouldn't. And really just never find that calmness that you can be at and still perform at the highest level. I think that's a learning curve. I think this will definitely help him. But he did it against Riddell, if he fights that fight. But again, someone has to allow him to fight that fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think it's such a hard thing to comprehend and learn, and then to be able to put it into play is difficult.
Yeah. I feel like if and when you do fight Poirier, because again, I just see that as the obvious fight, but you never know. I mean, the sport's weird; anything can happen. But in a way, it'll almost kind of be like sort of a full circle situation, because that was the fight where you decided that you were going to change up your style a little bit. You're going to change up the nuances of your style, right? And I mean, I think you guys decided that in the ambulance after that fight, didn't you? You and Trevor?
I don't even think I was out taking pictures that whole night after that fight.
So maybe the fight, you had a conversation in the ambulance. I just thought that there was a story where you guys talked about, like, what?
I don't know if it was in the ambulance. I mean, I'm sure after the Alvarez fight, he definitely had some things to say. But I think it was after the Poirier fight. I'm not sure when or where, but yeah, it was pretty much immediately after that fight. I was like, all right, maybe we should fight a little bit smarter. But again, I mean, in that instance, I didn't feel like anything was wrong. Obviously, I was 18-0. I thought I was beating Eddie Alvarez, got caught. I thought I was beating Dustin Poirier, got caught. And so I still wasn't 100% positive that was the change that I needed to make. Or I just needed to, I mean, I wasn't, it's hard to, in hindsight, you see it, but in the moment, it's such a difficult decision to make.
How do you think he's changed since then?
I mean, his bank account's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Stylistically, I think he's phenomenal at the way that he fights. His ability to conserve energy. I think that you just mature in that regard, and so I think he's just a much more mature fighter. We'll see. I'm not sure how I would fight him yet. We have to go through a training camp. Trevor has to instill the ideas, and I'm not sure which Justin Gaethje will show up.
What do you mean? Like, just in terms of just like the little details, the little game planning details?
Yeah, like that, or do I fight him like an animal, or do I fight him like I fought this last guy? Different, for different fighters, I'm going to have to fight different ways. I might be in his face the whole time, or I might, try to out technique him like I just did one of the greatest strikers in the world. So we'll see. To be continued.
This is another one of those fights where, talking about how obvious and just like the story kind of writes itself. I could see a situation in which this fight gets announced. Let's say we're in summer and they're like, "Hey, Islam's fighting Beneil or Charles." you know, whoever for the title, and it's like, then this fight's going to be on the same card, and it gets announced, and literally everybody's going to say this should be a 5-round fight, but you prefer 3-round fights, correct?
I mean, my coach prefers 5-round fights. Again, I mean, you saw what happened this last fight. You know, if that goes 5 rounds, there's no way I ever lose that fight unless he catches me again. I never take that aspect of, you know, getting caught out of it. But he was getting much slower, you know, so his ability to create that instance is going to be, you know, less opportunistic as the fight goes on. And, you know, you saw the damage I was starting to create in the third. I think that would have continued into the fourth and fifth, and then I would have finished him and got a, you know, a clear and decisive win. 3-round fights are a little bit risky because, you know, with the judge, if you lose 2 rounds, even if they're super, super close rounds, and for some reason the judge gives them both of the nods, you know, the nod in the first 2 rounds, I mean, you only have one way to win. There's only one path to victory after that. And, you know, you never know being in that moment. So, I mean, I think it's a little bit risky, more risky. I think these super high level fights, you know, with what's at stake should be 5-round fights.
Yeah.
But, you know, I get paid a certain amount for 3-round fights, and I would like them to, you know, break that up into thirds and then add 2 of those at the end. And then I would be happy to fight 5-round fights. You know, they pay me $25,000 extra for those 2 rounds. And I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth the risk, you know, but again, these fights should be fought at 5 rounds.
Yeah, man, I agree. It takes a little bit out of your hands, right? With a 5-round fight, you just have more time. So
yeah, you got more time, and you know, usually the better fighter is the clear and obvious winner. In 3-round fights, again, you know, someone has so much energy and abilities in the first and second round, but come round 3, 4, 5, like they are just a different person, a different fighter. You know, not so much a technician as, you know, like obviously in this last fight, even with Chandler, you know, the amount of damage I started creating at the end of the second and into the third was astronomical compared to the first round. And so, yeah, I think, but if you're getting your ass beat, I'd rather get my ass beat for 3 rounds than not 5 rounds. So it's a little conundrum.
maybe you can go to the UFC and ask, because I just feel like it's, like I said, everyone's going to say that. If this fight is not a 5-round fight, everyone is going to complain about it, that it's not a 5-round fight. So
yeah, I won't complain.
Yeah,
my coach might, but I won't.
Yeah, it's interesting that Trevor would complain too, because he knows. I mean, he doesn't want to put you in harm's way any more than he has to. But
yeah, but he sees my ability now to for one fight, my fight, and you know, if I fight at that pace, I can fight forever.
Yeah.
And my ability to create damage, you know, just grows as the fight goes on. My punches don't get less, you know, they get harder because they're starting to brace less and be able to see the shots less. My punches don't fade, and that's his main point. Is like, you're gonna touch them, so why not make it more effective when you touch them in the later rounds?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the game plan was make Fiziev miss, make him miss, exert all that energy, and then take advantage. You know, I think he's a creature of habit. I think he's very repetitive. You know, and I think that repetitiveness is why he's so good. I mean, it's so technical, but I think you know, I studied him a lot. I've never watched fights before a fight, but you know, on my way to sparring, I'd watch his fights, and I really just tried to get a sense of what I was about to face, and that was a huge difference in this fight. I think it served me well.
Yeah. So when do you think that? I mean, so what is your plan over the next coming months? You want to stay in good shape, or you think you'll start thinking about Dustin? You think you'll start like almost watching film, or will that process not start until you absolutely know? Like, how do you think you'll handle the next few months?
Yeah, I won't concern myself with him too much at this point. I really just need to focus on myself. You know, the older I get, the less time I need to take in between fights. My elbows were really sore, though that's gone now. We're on day 11 after the fight, and I've been eating like crazy. So yeah, I got to get back in there soon.
Like when you think about like is it important to like keep yourself under a certain weight or like keep yourself at a certain level of fitness like as you get older? Like is that important?
Yeah, I would say so, especially if there's a potential of a 5 round fight.
Yeah.
I mean, that is in order to build the capacity I need to have to fight that fight takes a lot of time. I have a great base right now with the quality of shape and the quality of work that I put in for this last camp. So I think it would serve me well to get back in there as soon as possible. As much as I don't want to, we love breaks. I love time off, but it doesn't have to be sparring. I don't want to jump into sparring yet, but I think I could definitely get back on the cardio train, probably lifting weights train, get my chef back probably next week. But I'm going to go to the Bellator fights this weekend. Hopefully I can get a ticket. My buddy Archie's fighting. I want to go watch him. Well, he said there's no tickets left, so I don't know. Hopefully I can get one.
I
already bought my plane flight and my hotel, so they better give me a ticket.
I think they'll probably find a spot for you somewhere
I
around.
thought I was like, I don't need to see the whole fight. I just want to see one fight. Just give me a seat for this one fight, and then I'll vacate the seat. And it's an early fight. He's not fighting on the main card or anything.
Yeah. Oh, I think you'll be good, man. I think that they'd be happy to have you and maybe even throw you on the telecast a little bit, show that Justin Gaethje's in the house. How about your teammate Kamaru? Have you talked to him at all since then?
Yeah. We rode home in the same car after. I mean, he's disappointed, naturally. But, it's craziest. That's what's so different about this sport as compared to, football, baseball, basketball. You always get another chance in those sports. You're always going to play that team either the same season if they're in your conference or the next year. You're always going to get that chance back. We don't have that. He did get his chance back. He's fought him 3 times now, but, with it being the third fight, him being 1 and 2, it's going to be difficult to get that fight back, immediately or if ever again. So that's a pill that you have to swallow. And so, I think he's disappointed in his performance. I think he thought he could have done more. But, he's at home with his daughter, getting a lot of love right now. So, time, life goes on.
Yeah. Do you have that with anybody? Like you have like a damn, I wish I could fight Habib one more time. I had a chance to fight him, or like
I would say Charles for the belt. Yeah, that's my one. I mean, I was so emotional.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've never watched that fight because I don't recognize myself in that fight, so I don't need to watch it.
Yeah. Last thing I'll ask you before I let you go, and I didn't even ask you about this during fight week because it was just like it didn't even feel like necessary or relevant, and I still wonder if it's even relevant now. But I did not ask you about the Conor and Chandler thing. Like, will you even pay attention to that? Will you have any interest in it whatsoever? Like, do you think it'll get on your radar what's going on between those two over the summer?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I might watch the fight. Yeah. It's an exciting matchup. I like fights. So as a fan of the sport, it's something I would like to tune into. But as far as the drama on the outside, absolutely not. Like, I've never been concerned with that, even when it concerns me, much less two clowns. So, I mean, hey, it's gonna be for the fans. It's awesome. The whole Ultimate Fighter thing. I almost before that happened, they asked me to do it. I'm not going to say against who, but it takes 2 to tango. I said yes, and the other party said no. So it was while I was waiting for my contract for Fiziev, I get a call and they're like, "Hey, you want to do this?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And then a couple of days later, like, "No, it's off." So then I just signed a Fiziev contract back in the camp.
Okay, how come you don't want to share who it was with?
Not necessary. Yeah. I don't want to call. I'm not trying to say someone was scared. If I was in the position that this person was in, I wouldn't take it either.
Would not have taken it.
No, you don't want to leave your family for 6 weeks for not that much money.
Yeah. When you look at like a Conor and Chandler matchup, do you feel like this could have any kind of impact on my career or my trajectory, or do you feel like they've gone this way, you've gone this way, and you might as well not even be in the same weight class anymore?
That's tough one. Would I quit if Conor won and they gave him a title shot, probably. You know, that's how hurt I would be by the actions of the company that I represent.
Mm.
But that's out of my control. So, you know, I just really hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah. I imagine if it did, it would be a 170 and not 155 anyway, huh?
We can imagine a lot of things, but
Yeah.
it's there's a possibility that that's a scenario, you know, which I would be devastated for sure.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, we'll see, man. There's a lot to happen the rest of the year, and I'm anticipating seeing you against Dustin Poirier. We'll see how many rounds it is, and that would be a #1 contender fight, and then championship. Get a championship done in 2024. That's kind of the way the schedule's laying out for you, right?
Yep, it's perfect. Sounds like a great plan. Been doing this since I was 4. You know, it sure as heck ain't over yet. But yeah, that would be a great culmination of events for me, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked so matter of factly about like, hey, you know, it's like my time is coming. Like I'm not you know, in denial about that you can only do this to a certain length of time. Like, could you ever see a situation in which you would be the guy like win a title and just walk away, or like that's like
No, that wouldn't be ideal. I've always said if I don't feel like I could be the best in the world, then I'm done here.
Mm.
And if I have the title, that's clearly not the scenario. So no, I don't think that would happen. I don't think I would ride it till the wheels fall off. You know, I would fight the contenders, and then, you know, when my time was up, my time was up.
Yeah.
I have people around me that are they're always willing, and, you know, to have that conversation with me that I trust. They know that, and so, you know, just keep working my hardest until that day.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate the time. I guess just out of pure curiosity, you know, when you go and have a fight in London and you make a good paycheck and you come back and you're taking a break, like, what are your days like? Do you kind of feel sometimes like it's good to have direction and like a motive in mind, or do you like kind of just
I
like
mean,
take
I
care of
don't
other
hate it.
business, or?
I'm bored, you know. I'm just come to the office and just, you know, up everybody's day, their business day, by you know, being a goofball. But I like to go golfing, but yeah, really it's just boring right now. Just chilling.
Well, try and find a way to enjoy the time off, and maybe you know, maybe around one of these cards in Vegas or something. Come on out, we'll play golf with DC again.
Yeah, I'll be in Miami too.
All right, sweet, cool. Well, we'll see you in Miami.
All right.
All right, thanks, Justin.
Later.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.